Let's welcome Juanjo.
Thank you very much. Do you have the control for the slides? Yes. Yeah, you guys are going to have to excuse my voice, but no one warned me that if you go too much to Oktoberfest, you get the flu. So I'm suffering the consequences of my own actions now. Yes. All right. So a little bit about what I'm going to be talking today. So my name is Juanjo Díaz. I work for a company called Intopalo Digital. I have a background on cloud and web. And on the last few years, I've been focusing on platformizations and data platform as an enabler for the digitalization of industrial companies. So at my work and my current employer, we focus on creating secure, intelligent solutions for industrial companies. And when I'm talking about industrial companies, I'm talking about mining companies, maritime companies, agricultural companies, any kind of company that use moving machinery, manufacturing, processing, and so on. So any kind of company that have machinery and intelligent machinery and so on. So first of all, what is digitalization in this context? So in the last few years, the economic uncertainty and the disruption that digitalization in general has produced in all the fields have had a very strong impact on industrial companies. So industrial companies has been forced to move into the digital world and combine the physical and digital world in order to serve better their customers, in order to be able to create new products, in order to be able to drive revenue, and in order to be able to just make better decisions and be more efficient. And digitalization in this case or in all cases, is just about increasing the value. So who knows the difference between digitalization and digitization? Everyone? No one? Okay. So digitization is just the act of moving data, of moving a process from physical to digital. So moving your bookkeeping notebook into an Excel sheet. But that's not digitalization. That has a value in itself, but it doesn't really increase the value that you're providing to your customers. If you're in doubt, you should always digitize everything. You should make everything digital. You should add as much data as possible, but that will not solve the problem. Optimizing your existing processes, that start increasing the value, that start producing better results. But when companies are really seeing the huge increase is when they are embracing the digital world, they are embracing data-driven solutions, they are embracing artificial intelligence, and they are creating new business, creating new services. And over the years, working with many industrial companies, we have reached kind of like this view of the world that most industrial companies are going through this path from physical installation, moving up to like hardware, more intelligent hardware, programmable units, and so on, moving up into more software-based solutions, then lately adding more data, processing more data, and doing more intelligent solution, and then eventually get into this artificial intelligence system, these autonomous systems, and so on. And as companies are moving up this ladder, we normally identify three stages that they go through. So there is always this kind of like leading phase where you need to answer the question, what is digitalization? What are we trying to do this? What data do I need? What data do I have? What can I do with this data? And so on. Then there is kind of the design and implementation phase where companies start actually testing, start doing proof of concept, start implementing these solutions and so on. And then when all those solutions are ready, then companies need to start deploying the solutions, start operating the solutions, make sure that they stay operational, that they stay secure, and so on. And these three steps can be applied when moving from any of those layers to the next one. At the moment, most of the companies that we work with have already passed kind of like the software level, so they, regardless of whether they initially produce automation systems, factories, tractors, vessels, or whatnot, they are all now producing software, and they are all starting kind of like the leading effort on the data. They are starting to analyze and figure out, okay, which data can we get, what can we do with that data, how can we produce more value and increase revenue. And few companies are already looking into the more autonomous and more like true artificial intelligence but not as many. And very few companies are actually already operating continuously these new data services. Most industrial companies are still kind of like on the development phase of these new business models. And of course, the central role here comes from the data. And the main role of the data is to provide situational awareness. So understanding the system, understanding the environment of the system, understanding if things are going well or going bad, understanding what should be the next action to take, and so on. Once you get this understanding of the system, whether the system is, as I say, a boat, a tractor, a factory, or any other machinery, then you can start optimizing, you can start building models, you can start improving how things are working. And after you have like a system that is predictable, a system that you understand how it works and is optimized, you can start doing predictions for the future. You can start realizing when the system is going to need maintenance. You're going to start realizing when the system is going to need some piece to be replaced, when the system is going to change in certain ways, and then you're moving more toward these predictive models. And what these kind of these new things that you can do with data are enabling this company to do is to create more intelligent products, and using these intelligent products create new business models. And the challenges that we are seeing at the moment is that many companies don't really, like they have the question of, okay, we want to digitalize. What does digitalization mean? Okay, how do we start? What is the first step to get the situational awareness? What is the first step to optimize? We have 1 million processes, we have 1 million machines. How do we actually move that? Who is responsible for that within the organization, and so on? Once companies start actually like figure out like what they want to do, they start working in data solutions, they always get into a very similar solution. I'm sure that anyone here working with data have seen something like this in one way or another. You always get your data sources that are producing data, whether those are the machines, the sensors, or some other system, or human input, or whatnot. You need to securely transfer the data. You need to get all that data into your system. You need to move that from the operational model into the IT kind of world. Once you get that data, you need to validate the data, you need to clean the data, you need to maybe integrate that data with open data sources like weather data, pricing data, or some other kind of public data, or proprietary data that you can acquire. And then you get this pool of raw data, normally the data lake as it's called. And then you can start doing ad hoc analysis, you can start doing experiments, you can start like building models, testing models, and so on that data. Then you can also have your continuous analysis, your alerting, your predictions, your models that you have already trained that are continuously running. And those can be built in-house, or those can be external services. You can buy recognition, you can buy license plate recognition, car recognition, you can buy a lot of algorithms that you buy then as a service, and you just have to send your data, you just plug the system there. And as a result of all this, you get your enriched data. You get a final set of data that is optimized for the different use cases that you're trying to solve. And with that data, you can start solving the situational awareness that I was mentioning at the beginning, which is one of the most important things that companies are trying to achieve at the moment. You can integrate this data into other systems, either your system or your partner system, so you can start getting like richer services, more service, or services that are provided by other people, not just by your organization. You start building applications, so your customer, your users, can be utilizing, can be leveraging this data and this information that you're generating and you're acquiring. And you can generate reports. You can allow business people to be running business intelligence, for example, and be getting information out of the platform. So this is something that pretty much every company is doing, and it doesn't make sense to be rebuilding it for everything that you do. So you always want to platformize, you always want to create this in a way that when you're adding new models, when you are adding new algorithms, when you are adding whatever you're trying to add, you can always put that on top of the platform. You don't have to reinvent the wheel entirely from scratch, but you have a foundation, a solid baseline where you can work on. And in order for the platform to actually be useful for companies, it's not enough to simply have the platform, but you need a deep business understanding. That's something that we have realized in pretty much all the projects and all the work that we do. You need to understand who are the actors in your ecosystem, who are your partners, who are your customers. You need to understand where is the data coming. Is it coming from the devices? Is it coming from your back office, from your CRM, your PLM, your ERP, and so on? You need to understand How are your users or the users of the data self-servicing? Can your data scientists being using the data autonomously? Do they need to be requesting data somehow? Can your business people be running business intelligence analysis by themselves? Do they need to be requesting the data or permission from anywhere? Can your partners be building solutions that they can sell to third parties, and you can maybe create a new business model there that you're just selling the platform and not so much the product and so on. So in order to generate value, industrial companies cannot simply like start seeing the data that they have and try to figure out something. They need to, there is a need for a deep understanding of how the business works, who are the actors, and then you can focus on having the platform, and then you can start focusing on actually creating this new system, these new services, and these new kind of business models. All companies are trying, of course, to deepen their intelligence. So we normally classify like these multiple levels of intelligence that can be classified in 2 dimensions: how automated the intelligence is, or how advanced the analytics are. So you can start for the very basic kind of manual kind of a descriptive intelligence that the user just can go there. That's kind of like how it used to be traditionally. You go to your database, you get your data, you do some queries, and you get the information that you need. Not really useful. Then you can start automating that. You can generate alarms. You can generate this kind of like more diagnostic of like how is the system working and how are things doing. And that can be more automated or less. The more automated, the best, and the less human interaction will be needed there. And then eventually you start moving into a more autonomous, more predictive, or more prescriptive type of intelligence, where the system not only know how he is, it's not only aware of his own situation, but the system is able to react, the system is able to act accordingly, and you can start doing more things. So in that sense, normally we talk about like narrow intelligence, where you can do these queries, you can get very basic intelligence from the data you have. More general intelligence that is close to like human intelligence. It's kind of like when you can replace human tasks just by having models and just by having algorithms. And then this kind of super intelligence, which will be an intelligence that kind of surpass what a human can do. And it's something that all the companies are trying to get there. And at some point, we will get to a point that for humans will be really difficult to keep track of how this intelligence is actually managing the devices, the vehicles, the factories, or whatever we're talking about. But it's not all about intelligence. Industrial companies, it doesn't matter if they have the best algorithms, it doesn't matter if they have the best models, it doesn't matter if they have the deepest intelligence. They need a lot more than that. There is, the amount of data is so huge and the computational power is so huge that you always need big data expertise, you need cloud expertise. Security is a must. All companies are terrified now of data leaks. There is security, there is legislation, there is compliance that certain industries especially have to comply with. So security is an absolute must. There is application that you need to develop if you really want your users to actually benefit from the data that you're creating, and you want them to be able to access that data and to get the benefit from it, and to actually use the systems that you are building. And in that sense, we have found that mixed realities, augmented reality, artificial reality, and so on, has been an excellent platform to create better interactions between the humans and the machines that we're working with. And then finally, also because a lot of these systems are based on devices, on sensors, on vehicles and machines that has very low-level components that are generating the data, doing some initial processing of the data, sending the data to your data platform or wherever. We have found very beneficial to have also deep understanding of kind of low-level programming, embedded programming, and so on, to be able to do end-to-end solutions that can cover the full needs and the full use cases of industrial organizations. So now I wanted to tell you a little bit about certain use cases that we have been working to give a glimpse of what are industrial companies at the moment working on related to data science and artificial intelligence. So, as I said at the beginning, digitization is not a value in itself, but it has some value. It will up the company. So the first thing that all companies have to do is start automating their business, automating things that humans can do. And that can mean simply doing things that the customers used to do before, that the humans used to do before, and automate them so it can be done by machine, or can be creating a complete new model. So in this example, the company ACCO, agricultural company, have this project called Shower. ACCO has been investing a lot on digitalizing their tractors and digitalizing their agricultural machinery, and they have a lot of assistance for the humans that are moving those machineries, that are controlling those machinery. And that is kind of like the automation phase of the existing process. But they're also working on this kind of like next stage, this new business model that is not optimizing the existing process, but creating a complete new process, which in this case was creating this fleet of autonomous mini robots that can autonomously go to the field and do all the seeding or the harvesting and kind of like take care of the field instead of the humans. So then they stopped improving the tractor. They created a complete new way of doing it that doesn't require the tractor, doesn't require the human to go to the field. So automation doesn't mean necessarily artificial intelligence or data science or anything like that, but it can mean and it can be combined, and it's like the first enabler that you need to be moving in that direction. Another area, and we have talked a lot about this today already, is image and video analytics. So being able to detect objects, being able to identify tags, IDs, license plates, identify everything, be able to classify different objects and different things, being able to do quality assurance for products that you're producing. And probably you have seen that video that went viral a few years ago of the tomatoes going in a processing plant, and there was a camera and a little device that automatically kick away all the green tomatoes just based on the video feed. So this type of thing that just reduce the human from the equation and optimize and make things safer than they used to be. And when working with image and video, we have found XR mixed realities to be the perfect partner to enrich the user experience when he's using this type of system. So the example that I put in the picture, it's from a maritime company. They are creating autonomous vessels, and they are creating remote operation centers for the vessels when they cannot work in an autonomous way. They are using video feeds from the vessel. They are using artificial intelligence and machine learning to process that data to identify. So when the vessel is arriving to the harbor, let's identify that's a little boat that is moving toward the left, that is a container that is static, the shore is here or there. And then the actual user, the captain or whoever is looking at the system, is getting this video feed that is enriched with augmented reality and with new interactions and with indications of what he can be doing and so on. So he can make more informed decisions and better decisions. And of course, this is strongly based on the image and video, but can combine any other sensor that the vessel has on board. More classic example of what industrial companies are focusing now is process optimization. Just getting historical data and trying to improve, reduce the cost and improve the performance and the efficiency of different processes. And this is typically done by just creating model. We did some case recently for a company called Bolidem that they produce metal, and they had one particular process that they thought that could be optimized. So we took that specific process. We studied, we understood the parameters, we did like in-depth research with their people, we created this mathematical model, and we were able to optimize a lot and reduce the gas emissions and reduce the cost and optimize the whole efficiency of the process. And normally, when industrial companies are working in this type of optimization, what we have found is that there is a need for a deep domain knowledge. So you cannot do this kind of optimization just by applying general machine learning, general data science, or general algorithms. You really need to understand exactly what you are optimizing or what are you trying to do. And this goes back to like the business and the ambition that you need to decide which processes you want to optimize and prioritize and start optimizing those little by little. And one way that we have been seeing a rise, and we see that it will be a huge thing in 2020 and in the future, is the concept of a digital twin. So getting a physical device, getting these machines, getting these sensors, getting these vehicles, and creating a digital replica that is getting the same data, that is acting the same way, that you can use to run tests, to do experimentations, to change parameters and see how it will react, that you can apply changes that will be applied to the physical and so on. There are many different ways of using this kind of digital twins, but it's something that it's on the rise, and it will be in the rise in the future. And then I mentioned already at the beginning, companies are moving into this predictive maintenance. So companies want to be able to get more help to their own people when they are fixing machines. Companies want to be able to predict when machines are going to break, which pieces are going to need replacement, and so on. When are anomalies happening on those machines? all these type of things that will allow them to create new business models around this maintenance and not so much about the machine itself. And then finally, what I've been talking at the beginning also, the kind of the gold standard of what everyone is trying to achieve at the moment is the situational awareness. So the real question, the real understanding, the real self-consciousness. So this example is from a mining company from Finland called Sandvik. And mines are particularly challenging because, well, they are underground, so there is no internet. They are huge. They can be 10, 20 kilometers wide, having many floors. And they are constantly changing, so people is always blowing new tunnels. Tunnels are getting bigger. Maybe you put reinforcements, and then the tunnel becomes smaller. So the machines need to know, to have real autonomous machine, what am I, how big am I, where am I, can I go through that door, can I not, what do I do if I cannot, and so on. So this is something that a lot of companies are working on this type of thing. The example that I showed before about the vessel can also be considered a situational awareness kind of use case here. And this is also a case where we have found mixed realities, augmented reality to be extremely useful to visualize, to understand where the problems are or where the humans should focus, and guiding humans to focus on what really matters and not waste times on just like things that don't really have a strong impact on the business. And then just to conclude and summarize, industrial digitalization, digitalization for industrial companies is not simply about digitizing. It's not simply doing the same thing that they did before, but now using computers. It's all about investing in creating new business models that are powered by data and powered by artificial intelligence. And in order to do that, you require strong artificial intelligence and data science capabilities, but you need a lot more than that. You need the security, the big data knowledge, the cloud data, and all the stuff that I was mentioning before. And then finally, if you have to take a takeaway from this talk, I would go from these 3 points that I put there, which are the 3 crucial steps when a company wants to move into a kind of modern digital company. Automate the process that you have. Platformize, create a platform that allows you to develop faster and experiment faster and do new services faster and cheaper. And then create new services, create new business model that can leverage these new platforms that you have created, that can leverage this new data that you now have on a digital format and so on. And that's all I have for you guys. I'm going to be hanging around, so if anyone have any question or want to talk about industrial companies, I'll be here. Thanks.
Many thanks to all of you for sharing this day with us. This year's Munich AI Summit was devoted to the role of women in AI. Looking forward to Munich AI Summit 2020. See you next year.